Approaches to no-kill. The mission of Best Friends Animal Society is to bring about a time when there are no more homeless pets. And so we, like Brenda, relate to this from the perspective of noses in and noses out. So we count all animals, regardless of their, kittens, puppies. We don't have a 2-month thing. We're talking about all the animals that come in, all the animals that go out. So the noses in strategies relate to reducing shelter intake, and those are, generally speaking, I mean, there's not an exhaustive list, but really everything is very situational and specific to a community. Economically targeted spay-neuter, shelter surrender intervention, so discussing the reasons for a surrender with the person who's trying to surrender a pet, trying to help them resolve some of their issues, seeing if perhaps it's a minor expense. For example, it's not uncommon in South LA, for example, for someone to turn in a pet, but the reason they do is because they can't keep it in their yard, and you find out that they have a broken fence. And it's, it's easier to fix the fence than it is to take the pet into the shelter, and offering that kind of help can maintain that pet in their home. Pet retention. Puppy mill initiatives. Really great that Los Angeles has banned the sale of puppy mill dogs and cats and rabbits. And this is one of the campaigns that Best Friends is prioritizes. We've done work with the city of Chicago. There are now currently 57 cities, municipalities in North America that have banned the sale of puppy mills, and that's great. And then anti-breed discriminatory legislation. So we are very proactive in approaching and preempting breed discriminatory legislation in order to prevent the isolation and sort of inappropriate treatment of whatever breed it might be. And usually in this case, it's pit bulls, chows, sometimes it's shepherds, sometimes it's other large dogs. And that can be anything from banning them outright, where they wind up being confiscated, to banning them to where they're not allowed to be adopted. So there are policies in some communities that it's kind of the roach trap for pit bulls, where they can go in but they can't get out. And that's, we fight those kind of regulations as well. And then community cat programs, which are basically integrated TNR programs, trap, neuter, return programs with city shelters. So we've instituted those kind of programs in Albuquerque, San Antonio, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Atlanta, and we have a couple of others coming up, where we have staff integrated with the shelter. So feral cats, community cats that are brought into the shelters are not admitted to the shelter, they're spayed or neutered and returned to the area that they're picked up in. Noses out, high volume adoptions, and high volume is a significant component to this, because we need to be, our solution to pet shelter killing is the public. The public is our friend. We need to engage them, we need to engage and increase adoptions. Return to owner, obviously we can identify licensing, chipping, anything that will help get those animals back home. Transfers to rescue, transport programs. I was kind of surprised to bump into this, but when we looked at it and did the kind of analysis on it, there are some communities, particularly in the Northwest and some in the Northeast, where small dogs are just not available from a shelter or a rescue organization. If you want to get a small dog in Salt Lake or in Seattle or some of these cities, you have to go buy one. The shelters are very, very low. There's a low inventory of small dogs. And it's fine to upsell somebody to a lab, but often somebody, by virtue of their health, their age, their living condition, they want and need a small dog. And if you don't provide it for them, they will buy one. So transporting small dogs to communities where there's a high demand has been beneficial because it brings people into the shelters. And so our partners have found that not only is there a waiting list for small dogs, but then those small dogs prompt the adoption of large dogs as well, and cats. And then foster to adopt, obviously, foster care and foster homes and foster networks expand the capacity of the shelter system. Neonatal nurseries, most shelters do not accommodate kittens and puppies under 8 weeks because they have health issues unless they are on a mom, and that's often difficult to occupy the cage space for that long. So neonatal nurseries are a mechanism and a strategy to rescue and get those kittens, which are highly, highly adoptable, cutest things in the world, but they have to get beyond that little teeny weeny stage. So at about 8 weeks, they hit about 2 pounds, they can be fixed and adopted. And last year we took in about, I think between about 1,900 were saved. We took in about 2,200. It's a high mortality rate, relatively speaking, but we took in 2,200 neonatals, kittens and puppies, and placed 1,900. And then marketing and promotions. And really, there is a lot of work to be done in marketing and promotions. This needs to be a consumer-driven solution. We can't keep pumping water uphill and running water uphill and bailing things out. We need to generate a consumer-based support for this work, a consumer demand for shelter pets, a consumer demand for adoption. So when a community assessment, when you're looking at overall work, noses in, community assessment, what's needed? Financial, language, transportation, veterinary services. How do you identify the communities? Everybody, it's not sort of brain surgery. Everybody kind of knows, well, a lot of the dogs or cats are coming out of this part of town. Okay, but what does that part of town need? How can we service it? How can we provide for it? And sometimes it's transporting animals to spay neuter, sometimes it's mobile spay neuter vehicles, sometimes it's the kind of resources we were talking about of providing intervention help so that people can maintain their pets. And so when you do a psychographic and a demographic profile on these, you're able to sort of better get an idea of what's needed and how best to do it. And then targeted marketing strategies, and in many communities what that means is door hangers or door-to-door work. When you are talking about promoting spay-neuter or services that you're trying to deliver into a given community, the best way to do it is by going door to door and getting out there and meeting people. And so having street teams and people doing door hangers and various other things is a way to go with that. This is our national PSA on spay-neuter, or one of them. We have 3.
This is your new kitten, or your new puppy. Every day, 70,000 puppies and kittens just like them are born in the U.S. Cute, right? Well, what's not cute is that half of our litters are accidents. And when a kitten has a litter of oopsies, and a puppy has a litter of uh-ohs, pretty soon you have thousands and thousands of OMGs. And that leads to millions of pets being killed in shelters each year. But if 80% of pet owners say they believe in spaying and neutering, then what gives? Well, it turns out those sweet little fuzzballs can get pregnant sooner than you think. A lot sooner. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. You just have to remember one number. 4, as in 4 months. When you bring home Maggie or Ruby or Puddle or Clyde, get them fixed at 4 months. It can be old enough to get pregnant, and it's definitely young enough to make a difference. Prevent more, fix at month 4.
And I put that in because this isn't a question of do we adopt the way out of it, do we spay neuter. It's a whole suite of programs and approaches to ending shelter killing. From the point of view of noses out, there is the market. There are 15 to 17 million Americans acquire a new pet each year. Approximately 3.5 million healthy adoptable shelter pets are killed each year. The public needs to be part of the solution. We need to create a consumer-oriented culture of pet adoption. Achieving and sustaining no-kill communities is a social change movement. We have to create the ecosystem, and by promoting these things in our communities and advertising and marketing and doing the work of engaging the public, we are creating social change. And also, adoption is prevention. If you're adopting out fixed animals to a community, well then it's as good as spaying and neutering. So adoption of animals that are already fixed is also preventative. And where we focus a lot is on marketing, and we see this whole issue as being one of changing culture, changing minds, and changing behavior. So we have a number of celebrity supporters. Danny Trejo's one, and particularly since he comes from Los Angeles, is a hero in areas like Pacoima, and is just really a cool guy just generally. His participation in this, along with a bunch of other folks, drives a lot of traffic and again changes behavior. Like 60,000 shares, 12,900, that's pretty good. So we're very happy to have Danny. Now, I've got a Moby piece coming up here, and the reason I'm showing that is because you'll see Moby did this up at our Mission Hills, at the Mission Hills Center. And you'll see that there are a variety of dogs that he brings out. And maybe most of them would be classified as pit bulls. And I'm going to comment on as we go. That would be classified as a pit bull. A pit bull. Please. There's another one. And probably that, maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to move on because the sound is killing. But again, you see how different each of those dogs are and how easy it is to misidentify them and how they're just bracketed as pit bulls. And their behavior, their identity, their nature is entirely unique. Each of them is unique. I'm moving. Here's an Instagram.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them. Whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can bring them with you wherever you go. You can jump, yell, hide and go seek. Play dress-up, or not. Go for a walk, or not. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that. But you can adopt one.
So again, marketing and engagement, and really positive engagement. And again, we want people to be adopters. We don't want the public to feel that they need to be a rescuer. They just want to get a pet, and they can just adopt one. It's a different approach to life. Okay, so we started in 2012. We established this NKLA initiative, and it was in large part because Best Friends now had someone to work with in the person of Brenda Barnett, who came to Los Angeles in 2010. Shortly thereafter, we started launching this initiative. A lot of this work, you see a lot of our, the graphics, the design, the work, the ads, all of that are done by, obviously, by professional agencies, and it's all pro bono. TBWA, the folks who brought you Nike and the Energizer Bunny and various others donated all of this work. So it's a coalition, a working coalition of 75 animal welfare organizations focused on helping the city of Los Angeles to achieve no-kill status. Founding organizations: LA Animal Services, Found Animals Foundation, Downtown Dog Rescue, Karma Rescue, Kitten Rescue, Fix Nation, Stray Cat Alliance, and Best Friends Animal Society. This was the launch PSA.
Friends of Animals. We are a movement. We are a coalition of organizations and passionate individuals dedicated to making Los Angeles a no-kill city. Last year, more than 17,000 healthy or treatable animals were killed in LA city shelters. Each one an individual. Each one a loving pet worth saving. 17,000. That number should be 0. And it can be.
There is a solution, but only if the people who care work together. Join us and help make LA into NKLA.
And this was the outdoor campaign that was launched around the city again to get this going. We had billboards around town, again, generating buzz and interest, and again, creating the ecosystem that's going to support what we're trying to achieve, getting people engaged and interested. So, Noses in Los Angeles, there's spay-neuter throughout Los Angeles. Some of these are rough guesses, but I can tell you for sure that Best Friends, through our direct and our grants, did over 18,000 spays and neuters last year. And I think collectively we probably did about 38,000 in the city overall. Shelter surrender intervention at 3 city shelters. There are 2 neonatal kitten nurseries, Best Friends and Found Animals. We have a city ordinance banning the sale of mill-bred animals. There's rescue-based, non-Los LA Animal Services TNR programs, because there is an injunction that prohibits LA Animal Services from supporting or engaging in TNR, and likewise we as a contractor with contractee with the city are prohibited from doing any TNR out of Mission Hills, but we have other folks doing it in concert with our team in Utah. And there's a universal rescue return policy. All the rescue organizations accept animals back, so that then also mitigates shelter intakes. Noses out, adoptions at all 6 city shelters, public-private partnerships, LA City and Best Friends. We have a 5-year lease for service contract in Mission Hills. The NKLA Coalition Partners, which includes the LA Animal Services and a number of New Hope partners, were accountable for 23,000 adoptions last year. And then there's also non-NKLA New Hope partners. Small dog transports, neonatal nurseries, over 1,900 animals, and lots of adoptions and promotions. Okay, so here's another one. This is Kristen Bauer.
There's a misconception that a rescue is going to be...
Hold on, am I okay to carry on?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not true. This is a dog who was running around the streets of LA. He was underweight, 2 years old, and he's perfect. He is the most perceptive, sweet, zen. Oh, and then a squirrel shows up. I've been living with this guy for 5 years. He and I have a connection, and I just could not face the possibility of not, living with him and having him be my friend. And I think, wow, the shelters are full of guys like this.
And here's a graph showing the shelter killing deaths, city shelter deaths, when the campaign launched. It went from 23,000, projected for end of this year is 11,500. And we're on track for that. The last solid number was 14,000. So things are again on track for a no-kill city by 2017.
Hi, I'm Kevin Nealon. I'm here to talk to you about gonorrhea, lazy ear. I would like to talk to you about infantile baldness. I'm Kevin Nealon, and sadly, some people will already have forgotten who I am. I'm here to talk to you about the problem with Canadians. The problem is getting worse in many ways. This affects mostly you. I'm Kevin Nealon. I'm here to talk about trench mouth. Today I'd like to talk about overrated, bulimic, and backwards baseball. Raise your expectations. Go to your ATM. Talk to him. And I'm here to talk to you about facial double-sided catheter. Don't just complain. Can you be? That's trichinosa fapula. It's an unfixable. Even by Tobin, you can't smell it. You can't hear it. 3D, you can't. And you were all probably known out of work astronaut, skateboarding, and online syphilis. Clad doctors without kangaroo. I don't mean to texting while speaking. You read my email every day. we can do something about homeless pets. Spay and neuter your dog or cat, or adopt them from an animal shelter. It's that easy. Go to NKLA.org to find out more about how you can help, and let's solve this problem. Let's make Los Angeles a no-kill city forever.
Okay, I do have a bit more here on some of the pit bull information we were talking about. Merritt asked me to elaborate a bit on the injunction. Urban Wildlands, a conservancy group, filed an injunction or filed a lawsuit against the city, claiming that their TNR program did not first have CEQA clearance, California Environmental Quality Act. The city, rather than arguing the merits of TNR, at the time, pre-Brenda, claimed that we didn't have a TNR program, but it was actually all over the city's website. So it didn't get very far in court. The judge filed an injunction preventing LA Animal Services from giving any support whatsoever for TNR. So whether it's information, reference to a local group, any type of lending of traps, anything. The only support that they can give if someone calls to complain about a cat in the yard is you can trap it, bring it in, and that's it. Now, fortunately, that's not TNR, no. And fortunately, there are a lot of TNR organizations in the city who are not bound by this. Just the city that is not permitted to support or implement TNR. But that's not injunction does not apply to the rescue organizations. It applies to us in the capacity of our use of the Mission Hills shelter. But as I said, we have other teams who work directly under our supervision from Utah and do TNR. So it's a complicated story. I don't think we have time to go into it. It's an ongoing concern and something that's being addressed, not as quickly as we'd like, but it is being addressed. So, pit bull identification in animal shelters. This was a study that was done by Dr. Levy, Julie Levy, who's a vet at Florida State University. And basically they had prospective cross-section study, 4 staff members at 4 different shelters. So 16 staff members observed 30 dogs for a total of 16 observers and 120 dogs. And basically, blood was then collected to confirm their identification through a DNA test, and as you may imagine, the results were ridiculously off. So the idea that shelters can identify breeds, and these were specifically pit bulls.
But the maker of the DNA test said it can't be used to identify the breeds. So how come DNA tests do?
Well, they claim a 99%. Someone claims a 99%, the other is 90%.
They also claim that the first and second, the primary.
Right, and we're talking about
96% accuracy of identification.
Anyway, Merritt, the idea is that you're using data that comes from shelters by visual analysis, which is proven to be inaccurate. That absolutely is, because there's another study. There's another study.
96% accuracy. This is the study done at Richmond SPCA. 96% of either primary, secondary.
And DNA analysis failed to confirm pit bull type breeds in a pedigree of more than half of the dogs identified as pit bulls by shelter staff at the time of the study. So it's just basically a crapshoot. And there's another study by Voith et al. And her study was not about pit bulls specifically, it was just about identifying mixed breeds. And that was, without getting into all of the details, but if you want to look it up, Victoria Voith, 900 participants looked at 1-minute videos of 20 dogs, and again, their same conclusion. Disparities between visual and DNA identification demonstrated that visual identification and shelter analysis or shelter statistics based on visual identifications are wildly inaccurate. So that calls into question the numbers related to pit bull populations. Well, hold on.
Even if they're 50% inaccurate, you'd still have 15% of the.
Well, as you see here,
part of a 6% population group.
Okay. In Los Angeles, we have what I think anybody would reasonably say a large pit bull population or pit bull type dog population. And again, it's difficult to say because it's not really a breed per se. But here, dogs identified as pit bull type dogs are below 20% of the population entering the shelter. However, they do constitute 50% of the animals of the dogs being killed in the shelter. So we are but they're flying off the shelf. We're doing great work on adopting them. It's very successful and with great high level of satisfaction. And the benefit of having a lot of the rescues who focus on larger dogs, bully breeds, whatever you want, whether it's shepherds, and shepherds are also a major shelter issue, is that there's backup and support for adopters. So we can help walk people through issues. We always have, it's always an easy return. They don't have to feel bad. They can call, they can get help. And that goes for big dog, small dog, cat, whatever it might be. So we're excited about the work, we're excited about where things are going, and we're very pleased to be working with Brenda and the city. And I think we are all, we're way over, so there we go.